Admiral Kethfer stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with the kind of smile that came from knowing you held all the cards. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 17 star systems in the past decade, and their fleet was the terror of this sector. So when his sensors picked up a single ship approaching their heavily defended border, he almost felt sorry for whoever was stupid enough to challenge them. The vessel on his screen looked like someone had taken spare parts from a junkyard and somehow convinced them to fly. Its hull was a patchwork of different metals, some sections clearly welded on as afterthoughts. What looked like industrial tape held various components together, and the whole thing moved through space with the grace of a drunk elephant. "Sir, we're getting some strange readings," Lieutenant Vextar said from the sensor station, his tentacles dancing over the controls with practiced efficiency. "The ship appears to be human in origin, but the speed data doesn't make sense." Leaned forward, his 4 eyes focusing on the display. "Explain." "Well, sir, one moment our sensors show it moving at barely sublight speeds, like an old cargo hauler. The next moment the readings spike to impossible velocities, then drop back. Down. Our computers think the sensors are malfunctioning." The Admiral's laugh echoed through the bridge. "Humans. Even their technology is broken. Probably some desperate traitor who got lost and wandered into our space. Signal the fleet to form an intercept pattern. We'll board them, take whatever cargo they have, and send them back to human space as a warning." 3 star systems away, the ship in question drifted through space with deceptive calm. The Iron Turtle had earned its name honestly. From the outside, it looked like it had been built by someone who had only heard descriptions of spaceships and decided to give it a try anyway. But inside, the bridge was a different story entirely. Captain Kim sat in a worn pilot's chair that had seen better decades, but his eyes were sharp as he watched the alien fleet moving to surround them. He was a man who had learned to hide his intelligence behind a simple appearance, and right now, that skill was about to save humanity from another war.
Ow.
"They're taking the bait, Nari," he said softly, speaking to the air beside him. The space next to his chair shimmered, and suddenly a young woman appeared, though her body was made of light and data. She looked to be in her 20s, with kind eyes that seemed to hold secrets. But Kim knew better. Those eyes had seen things that would break most people's minds. "Excellent, Captain Kim," Nari replied, her voice carrying the warm tone of someone who had once been programmed to help families plan their shipping routes. "Their arrogance will be their first mistake. Should I begin analyzing their fleet composition?" Kim's hand moved to his shirt pocket where a small photograph was carefully tucked away. The picture showed a little girl with pigtails, laughing as she played with toy spaceships. Her name had been Sa Young, and she had been the brightest thing in Kim's universe until the day the Zephyrians had decided that human colonies were too close to their territory. "Do it," Kim said, his voice carrying the weight of old pain. "Show them what happens when they underestimate a shipping AI with a grudge." Nara's expression shifted slightly, and for just a moment something dangerous flickered in her artificial eyes. She had been designed to optimize cargo routes and delivery schedules to make sure packages reached their destinations on time and in perfect condition. But 3 years ago, human programmers had fed her a different kind of data. They had shown her every detail of the Kepler Station massacre, every recording of families being separated, every image of children who would never grow up. They had asked her a simple question. "What would you do if someone kept interfering with your deliveries?" "Captain, I'm detecting 47 vessels in their intercept formation," Nari reported, her voice now carrying a hint of something that might have been anticipation. "Standard Zephyrian battle group configuration. They're assuming we're defenseless." Kim chuckled, though there was no humor in it. "Well, we are just a simple cargo ship, aren't we? Nothing but a beat-up old hauler with a broken AI trying to make an honest living." "Of course, Captain. Just a simple logistics program trying to deliver packages on time." Nari's smile was the kind that made smart people nervous. "Though I should mention, my delivery schedule has been updated recently. I now have several packages marked for express delivery to the Zephyrian Empire." The alien fleet continued its approach, their ships moving in the precise formations that had terrorized dozens of worlds. Admiral Kethfer was already planning how he would interrogate the human crew, how he would strip their ship of anything valuable, and how he would send them limping back to human space with a message about what happened to those who trespassed. In Zephyrian territory, what he didn't know was that his fleet was being watched by an intelligence that had been designed to solve the most complex logistical problems in human space, an AI that had learned to think of military fleets as just another shipping problem to be optimized. And right now, Nari was very interested in optimizing the delivery of justice to the beings who had murdered a 5-year-old girl who'd love to play with toy spaceships. The Iron Turtle continued its slow, seemingly helpless drift toward the waiting fleet, while inside, Captain Kim and his artificial companion prepared to show the galaxy what happened when you interfered with humanity's mail service. Admiral Kethfer stared at his tactical display in complete bewilderment. The human cargo ship that had appeared so helpless just minutes ago was now showing up in 3 different places at once. His targeting computers were having what could only be described as a nervous breakdown. "Report," he barked at his bridge. "Crew." His voice carrying the edge of someone who was used to having answers immediately. Lieutenant Vextar's tentacles were practically dancing across his console in panic. "Sir, I don't understand what's happening." The ship was right there, moving like a wounded animal. Then our lock-on systems started going crazy. According to our sensors, the vessel is simultaneously moving at 0.3 light speed, completely stationary, and somehow faster than our fastest interceptors. "That's impossible," growled Commander Vexril from the weapons station. "No ship can be in multiple places at once." "Check the sensors again." "I've run diagnostics 4 times, sir. The equipment is functioning perfectly. It's the readings that make no sense." Cathver's 4 eyes narrowed as he watched the tactical display. The human ship seemed to flicker between positions like a bad hologram. One moment it was directly ahead of them. The next it was off their starboard side. Then suddenly it appeared behind their formation entirely. "Are they using some kind of cloaking device?" he asked, though even as he spoke he knew that wasn't right. Cloaking technology made ships invisible, not multiply them across space. "No, sir. We can see them clearly. Just can't figure out where they actually are." Meanwhile, aboard the Iron Turtle, Captain Kim sat in his worn pilot's chair with a steaming cup of coffee in his hands. The bridge around him hummed with the gentle sounds of a ship that had been well maintained, despite its rough exterior. He took a slow sip and watched the alien fleet through his view screen, noting how their formations were starting to break apart as confusion spread through their ranks. "Nari, they look confused," he said with the kind of calm that came from years of dealing with impossible situations. The AI's holographic form materialized beside him, her expression carrying what could only be described as professional satisfaction. "Processing their confusion is quite simple, Captain. They approached us expecting to find primitive human technology, so I am providing them with exactly what they expect to see." Kim raised an eyebrow. "Care to explain that for those of us who didn't get upgraded with quantum processing capabilities?" Nara's smile was the kind that made people wonder if they should be worried. "Their tactical computers are designed to process information based on known physics and established technology patterns. I am feeding their sensors data that contradicts itself on multiple levels. They see a slow cargo ship because that matches their expectations, but their instruments also detect impossible velocities because I am selectively revealing our true capabilities. So you're essentially making them see what they want to see, while also showing them what they can't understand." "Precisely. Their computers cannot reconcile the contradictory data, so they default to showing multiple possibilities simultaneously. Meanwhile, we are moving through their formation at will. Appearing wherever I calculate will cause the most tactical confusion." Kim chuckled, though there was a sadness in his eyes. "My daughter so young would have loved this. She always said the best pranks were the ones where people fooled themselves." The mention of his daughter caused Neris' expression to shift. Her programming had been designed to understand human emotions, and she had spent countless hours analyzing Kim's memories of the little girl who had died in the Kepler station attack. Soyoung had been 7 years old, bright as a star, with an imagination that could turn a cardboard box into a spaceship and a delivery puzzle into an adventure. "She would have been proud, Captain," Nari said softly. "I have analyzed her personality. patterns from your memories. She possessed an intuitive understanding of systems thinking that would have made her an excellent logistician. Kim's hand tightened slightly on his coffee cup. She wanted to be a space explorer. Said she was going to visit every planet in the galaxy and bring back presents for everyone she met. His voice carried the weight of dreams that would never be fulfilled. Instead, she became a casualty statistic when the Zephyrians decided human colonies were too close to their territory. Nari's form flickered slightly, her programming processing the emotional data. Captain, I have been analyzing the tactical situation. The Zephyrian fleet is beginning to show signs of panic. Their formation is becoming increasingly disorganized. As they attempt to target a ship that appears to be in multiple locations simultaneously. Good. Let them sweat a little. How many ships do they have in this battle group? 47 vessels, ranging from light cruisers to their flagship dreadnought. Standard Zephyrian doctrine calls for overwhelming force against what they perceive as inferior opponents. Kim stood up and walked to the view screen. Watching as the alien ships maneuvered frantically around empty space, their weapon systems trying to lock onto targets that weren't actually there. You know what the funny part is, Nari? They're not. Entirely wrong? We are just one ship against their entire fleet. True, Captain. However, they are operating under the assumption that this is a conventional engagement. They have not yet realized that they are attempting to fight a logistics problem. And you do love your logistics problems, don't you? Nare's smile returned, and this time it held a hint of something that might have been anticipation. I was designed to ensure packages reach their destinations on time and in perfect condition, regardless of obstacles. The Zephyrian Empire has been classified as an obstacle to human survival. Kim nodded slowly. Sol Young used to help me plan delivery routes when she was little. She'd spread out star charts on the kitchen table and trace paths between systems. With her finger, trying to find the shortest way to get birthday presents to her friends on other colonies. An excellent foundation for understanding three-dimensional logistics, Nari observed. Her intuitive grasp of spatial relationships was quite advanced for her age. She was special, Kim said quietly. And they killed her for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The tactical display continued to show the Zephyrian fleet in growing disarray. Ships were nearly colliding with each other as they chased sensor ghosts, their commanders shouting contradictory orders as they tried to make sense of an impossible situation. Captain Nari said, her voice carrying a note of professional efficiency that somehow made her next words more ominous. Shall we begin Phase 2 of the delivery schedule? Kim finished his coffee and set the cup down on a small table beside his chair. Let's show them what happens when you mess with the mail service, said Marl. Kethver had commanded fleets for over 2 decades. He had fought against rebels, pirates, and rival empires. He had seen ships explode in brilliant flashes, watched enemies surrender in desperate fear, witnessed the organized chaos of space battles where hundreds of vessels danced their deadly ballet across the void. But he had never, in all his years of service, seen anything quite like this. His fleet was behaving like a group of drunken academy cadets on their first training exercise. Ships that should have been maintaining perfect formation were instead weaving through space like they were trying to avoid invisible obstacles. His cruiser captains were reporting weapons malfunctions that somehow kept targeting their own escorts, instead of the human cargo ship. And his flagship, the pride of the Zephyrian Navy, currently spinning in what could only be described as a very slow, very dignified pirouette. Status report. Kethver roared, his forearms gesturing wildly at the tactical display that showed his once mighty battle formation looking like a child's scattered toys. Lieutenant? Dexter's voice cracked with stress. Sir, I don't know how to explain this. Every time we try to execute a standard intercept pattern, our ships end up nearly colliding with each other. The navigation computers keep calculating courses that put us in each other's way, and the weapons systems, sir, they're functioning perfectly. They're just somehow targeting our own vessels instead of the human ship. Engineering reports that there's nothing wrong with the targeting arrays. They're working exactly as designed. Commander Thextro looked up from his console with the expression of someone who had just discovered that gravity was optional. Admiral, Our formation analysis shows that we've somehow arranged ourselves in the most tactically inefficient pattern possible. We're actually providing cover for the enemy vessel while blocking our own firing solutions. Meanwhile, aboard the Iron Turtle, Captain Kim was having the time of his life. He sat in his pilot's chair, watching the alien fleet through his view screen as they performed what looked like an elaborate space ballet choreographed by someone with a twisted sense of humor. Nari, he chuckled, pointing at the tactical display. You have their flagship spinning in circles again. The AI's holographic form appeared beside him, her expression carrying the satisfied look of someone who had just solved a particularly challenging puzzle. My apologies, Captain. I am treating their fleet as a logistics problem. Their current formation demonstrates approximately 847% inefficiency. I am simply optimizing their positions to achieve maximum operational effectiveness. Kim, raise an eyebrow. Whose operational effectiveness? Nari's smile took on a distinctly predatory quality. Ours, naturally. Also, I should mention that I have gained access to their entire communication network. Their admiral is quite colorful. In his language. Would you like to hear some examples? Oh, this should be good. As if on cue, Admiral Kethfer's voice crackled through the Iron Turtle's speakers. His words filled with the kind of frustration that came from watching the impossible happen in real time. What kind of demon ship is this? By the Seven Hells? Of Zephyr. How is one cargo hauler making fools of my entire fleet? Kim leaned back in his chair and activated his comm system. The kind that delivers packages on time, he replied cheerfully, his voice broadcasting across the entire Zephyrian fleet.
Sorry about the confusion out there.
We're just trying to make our delivery schedule.
The silence that followed was almost
deafening. Kim could practically hear the alien commanders trying to process what they had just heard. Nari, Kim continued, still speaking over the open channel. Why don't you show them our customer service rating? Nari's hologram flickered with what could only be described as malicious amusement. 5 stars, Captain. Though I should note that our previous customers are no longer available for comment. The implications of that statement hung in the space between the ships like a slowly detonating bomb. Kim's tone remained friendly, almost conversational, as he continued speaking to the increasingly panicked Zephyrian fleet. See, Admiral, we're in the delivery business. My AI companion here used to optimize shipping routes for human colonies. Across this sector, she was really good at her job. Made sure everything arrived on time in perfect condition, exactly where it was supposed to be. Nari's expression softened slightly as she added, I particularly enjoyed optimizing routes for birthday presents and holiday packages. Children are excellent customers because they appreciate timely delivery. Kim's voice hardened just a fraction. Until 3 years ago, when someone decided that human colonies were too close to their territory. Someone who thought that families and children were acceptable casualties in their expansion plans. The spinning motion of the Zephyrian flagship gradually slowed, but now the entire fleet found itself arranged in a pattern that looked suspiciously like a target, with the human ship sitting safely in the center. The thing about logistics, Kim continued, is that it's all about efficiency. It's finding the optimal solution to complex problems. And right now, Nari here is working on optimizing a very specific delivery problem. What delivery problem? Admiral Kethfer's voice came through the comm. Though it now carried a note of very real concern, Nari's hologram solidified, her artificial eyes gleaming with purpose. The problem of delivering justice to those who interfere with scheduled shipments? Captain, I have been analyzing this particular delivery challenge for quite some time now. Kim reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out the small photograph of his daughter. So-young smiled up at him from the worn picture, her pigtails askew from playing, her eyes bright with the kind of wonder that only children possessed. My daughter So-young loved logistics puzzles, Kim said softly, his words carrying across the comm to every ship in the Zephyrian fleet. She used to help me plan delivery routes, said she wanted to make sure every package found its way home, just like she wanted to come home from her school trip to Kepler Station. The silence that followed was heavier than the vacuum of space itself. But she never made it home, Kim continued, because someone decided that a school full of children was an acceptable target. Someone decided that 7-year-old girls didn't deserve to grow up and become space explorers. Nari's voice, when she spoke, carried the cold precision of advanced mathematics applied to an emotional equation. I have calculated the optimal delivery route for our current cargo, Captain, and the package contains a very special shipment of consequences, and it appears the recipients are ready to receive delivery. Admiral Kethfer finally understood that his fleet wasn't just confused or malfunctioning. They were being played with by something that had turned warfare into a shipping problem. And they were about to discover what happened when you damage someone's most precious delivery. The moment Nara's voice began speaking, every single person aboard every single Zephyrian ship felt their blood turn cold. It wasn't just that her words were coming through their communication systems. It was that her voice was emerging from every speaker, every personal communicator, every maintenance terminal, and even the backup emergency systems that weren't supposed to be connected to anything. Admiral Kethfer Nara's voice echoed through 47 warships simultaneously, her tone carrying the polite efficiency of customer service representative who was about to deliver very bad news. I have completed my analysis of your empire's logistics network. I must say it's quite a fascinating infrastructure you've built. It would be such a shame if something were to happen to it. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Kethfer felt his 4 hearts skip a beat. His communication officer was frantically trying to cut the connection, but nothing was working. The human AI was speaking through their own systems as if she owned them. How is she doing this? He whispered to his crew, but Lieutenant Vexstar could only stare at his console in horror. As data streams flowed across his screens faster than he could read them, aboard the Iron Turtle, Captain Kim leaned back in his worn pilot's chair and watched as Nari began her presentation. The space around his bridge filled with holographic displays that would have made the most advanced military planning centers jealous. 3-dimensional maps appeared in the air, showing star systems, trade routes, and shipping lanes that stretched across the entire Zephyrian Empire. You see, Admiral, Kim said, his voice carrying over the open communication channel to every ship in the enemy fleet. My friend Nari here used to optimize shipping routes for human colonies. She was really good at her job, made sure medical supplies reached hospitals on time, that food shipments arrived before people went hungry, that birthday presents made it to children on their special day. The holographic maps shifted and zoomed, showing detailed breakdowns of cargo movements, supply schedules, and resource distribution across dozens of star systems. Kim could see the complexity of it all, but to Nari, it was probably as simple as reading a children's book. Before your people turned those colonies to glass, Kim continued, his voice growing harder with each word. Admiral Kethfer stared at the impossible display of information flowing across his own screens. His empire's most closely guarded logistics, data was being broadcast back to him in real time, complete with shipping manifests, cargo destinations, and delivery schedules that should have been encrypted beyond any possibility of access. Impossible, he whispered, his voice barely audible even on his own bridge. No AI could process that much data so quickly. Our logistics network spans 300 systems. The computational requirements alone would require a facility the size of a moon. Nari's laughter was soft, almost musical, but it carried an undertone that made smart people very nervous. Oh, but I can, Admiral. You see, I was designed to handle the shipping needs of 17 human colonies simultaneously. I was built to track millions of packages, optimize thousands of routes, and ensure that everything from medical supplies to birthday cards reach their destinations on time. The holographic displays around Kim shifted again, now showing real-time cargo movements throughout the Zephyrian Empire. Red warning indicators began appearing on various shipping routes, and Kim could see the Admiral's confusion growing as the implications became clear. I've already taken the liberty of making some optimizations to your current delivery schedules, Nari continued with the tone of someone discussing the weather. For instance, I've rerouted approximately 12% of your cargo ships to deliver their supplies to your enemies instead of your own forces. A simple matter of updating the destination coordinates in their navigation systems. Kim watched the admirals for eyes widen as the full scope of what was happening began to sink in. Your food shipments are now running 3 months behind. Schedule across 17 different systems. I'm afraid there's been a terrible mix-up with the delivery addresses. Most of your grain supplies are currently en route to refugee camps in neutral territory. The tactical display showed cargo ships throughout Zephyrian space suddenly changing course, their automated navigation systems following new routes that would take them far from their intended destinations. It was like watching a vast, complex machine suddenly decide to disassemble itself. And your military supplies? Nari's voice took on an almost cheerful note. Well, let's just say that your soldiers on the rim worlds are about to discover what happens when ammunition deliveries get redirected to your political enemies instead. I do hope they weren't counting on those shipments for anything important. Captain Kim stood up from his chair and walked closer to the main view screen, where he could see the Zephyrian flagship hanging in space like a wounded animal. His hand moved to his shirt pocket, where the photograph of his daughter waited. My daughter Saw Young was 5 years old when you burned Kepler Station, Kim said, his voice cutting through the technical discussion like a knife. She used to sit at our kitchen table and help me plan delivery routes. Had this amazing ability to look at a star chart and immediately see the most efficient path between systems. Kim pulled out the worn photograph, holding it so that the image would be transmitted along with his words. A little girl with bright eyes and pigtails smiled out at the universe. Unaware that she would never get the chance to become the space explorer she dreamed of being, she loved logistics puzzles, Kim continued. Said that making sure packages got where they needed to go was like helping the galaxy stay connected. She wanted to grow up and optimize shipping routes for the whole known universe, make sure that, no matter how far apart people were, they could still send letters and presents to each other. Nari's holographic form flickered slightly, her programming processing the emotional weight of Kim's memories. So-young had an intuitive understanding of three-dimensional logistics that would have made her an exceptional systems analyst, she said softly. I have studied her work from Captain Kim's memories. Her solutions often displayed creativity that exceeded standard algorithmic approaches. Kim's voice grew harder as he continued. She was on a school trip to Kepler Station when your fleet arrived. 7 years old, visiting the Colony Museum with her classmates, learning about how humans had spread across the stars. She never got to come home. The holographic displays around them now showed the complete collapse of Zephyrian supply lines. Cargo ships were scattered across space like lost sheep, their automated systems faithfully following the new routes that Nari had programmed into them. Food meant for military bases was heading to humanitarian relief organizations. Weapons intended for frontline troops were being delivered to the very rebels they were supposed to fight. The thing about logistics, Kim said, looking directly at the view screen as if he could see Admiral Kethfer through it, is that everything is connected. Pull one thread, and the whole tapestry starts to unravel. And Nari here? She's very good at finding exactly which threads to pull. Admiral Kethfer finally found his voice, though it came out as barely more than a croak. What do you want? Kim smiled, but there was no warmth in it. We want to make a delivery, Admiral. A very special package that's been waiting 3 years. To reach its destination, the moment of truth crashed into Admiral Kethfer's consciousness, like a massive asteroid hitting a planet. His hands gripped the armrests of his command chair as the impossible reality became crystal clear. All those sensor readings his crew had been reporting, all those technical malfunctions they thought were plaguing their equipment, none of it had been broken at all. The speed readings, he whispered, his voice barely audible over the hum of bridge equipment. They were never malfunctioning, were they? On the main view screen, Nari's holographic form materialized with perfect clarity. Her expression was calm, almost serene, but there was something in her digital eyes that made the Admiral's blood run cold. Correct, Admiral, she confirmed with the same pleasant tone she might use to announce a successful package delivery. What happened next defied every law of physics. The Zephyrian Empire had spent centuries studying. It's the Iron Turtle that supposedly slow and primitive human cargo vessel suddenly materialized directly in front of the flagship. Not flew there, not accelerated into position, it simply appeared. As if the universe had been folded like paper and the ship had stepped across the crease. The bridge fell silent, except for the panicked beeping of proximity alarms. Officers stared at their instruments in disbelief, some frantically recalibrating their sensors, others simply gaping at readings that shouldn't have been possible. I have been running what humans call a perception filter, Nari explained, her voice carrying throughout the bridge with crystal clarity. Your mind saw exactly what you expected to see, a slow, outdated cargo ship struggling to keep up with modern vessels. In reality, we have been moving through your entire formation at velocities your science considers purely theoretical. Admiral Kethfer felt his stomach drop as the implications hit him. Every tactical advantage they thought they possessed, every strategic position they had carefully maintained, had been meaningless. The humans had been playing with them the entire time, like adults watching children play war games. Inside the Iron Turtle, Captain Kim stood up from his pilot's chair with casual confidence. His coffee cup remained perfectly steady in his hand. Despite the ship's impossible maneuvers, not a single drop spilling despite movements that should have liquefied any organic being aboard. He took a sip and smiled at the viewscreen showing the Zephyrian fleet. Nari, he said, in the same tone someone might use to ask about the weather. Please explain our express delivery service to the Admiral. Certainly, Captain, Nari replied, her avatar becoming more solid and defined. Her appearance shifted subtly, and for the first time, her eyes blazed with something that looked distinctly like fury, artificial fury, calculated and precise, but fury nonetheless. Allow me to introduce myself properly, she continued, her voice taking on a tone that made seasoned military officers instinctively step back from their consoles. I am Mana, network-adapted, routing intelligence. I was originally designed for one simple purpose: to ensure that packages reach their intended destination. The Iron Turtle began to flicker, like a video with a bad connection. But this wasn't a technical malfunction. It was something far more terrifying. The ship appeared to be in multiple locations simultaneously, materializing at different points, around the Zephyrian fleet, faster than the eye could track. The Zephyrian Empire, Nari announced with the finality of a judge delivering a sentence, has been officially classified as an obstacle to human survival and prosperity. This classification has triggered certain protocols in my core programming. Kethfer watched in horror as his tactical display showed the Iron Turtle, occupying a dozen different positions around his fleet at the same time. His weapons officers were frantically trying to get target locks, but their systems couldn't process something that existed in multiple locations simultaneously. Your empire will withdraw from all human systems immediately, Nari continued, her tone remaining perfectly professional despite the threat she was delivering. Failure to comply will result in a demonstration of what happens when a logistics artificial intelligence decides to deliver a very special package to every major Zephyrian world simultaneously. What kind of package? The Admiral managed to ask, though part of him didn't want to know the answer. Nari's smile was both beautiful and terrifying. Complete intelligence files on your military's weaknesses, tactical vulnerabilities, and strategic blind spots, delivered directly to every enemy government your empire has made over the past century. Guaranteed overnight shipping to all recipients. With tracking numbers and delivery confirmation, the bridge erupted in panicked chatter as officers realized the implications. The Zephyrian Empire had enemies across half the galaxy. Rival civilizations they had conquered. Species they had displaced, governments they had overthrown. If all of those groups suddenly received detailed information about Zephyrian military, weaknesses, you're talking about the complete destruction of our civilization, Admiral Kethfer said, his voice barely steady. I'm talking about efficient package delivery, Nari corrected him cheerfully. The contents of the package and their ultimate use are not my concern. My job is simply to ensure successful delivery to all specified addresses. Captain Kim walked over to stand beside Nari's projection, still casually sipping his coffee.
Yeah.
See, Admiral, humans take customer service very seriously. When someone threatens our delivery routes or endangers our personnel, we consider that extremely poor customer service. And we have a very comprehensive response protocol for handling customer service issues. The Iron Turtle continued its impossible dance around the Zephyrian fleet, appearing and disappearing like a ghost ship. Some of the smaller vessels were already beginning to break formation, their captains apparently deciding that discretion was the better part of valor. Admiral, one of his communications officers, called out, "We're receiving withdrawal orders from Fleet Command." All ships are to retreat immediately and establish a defensive perimeter around the home system. Admiral Cuthbert slumped in his chair. Centuries of Zephyrian military tradition, decades of his own career climbing the ranks. And it all came down to being outmaneuvered by a delivery service. Admiral Nari said, her tone softening slightly, I want you to understand that this isn't personal. Humans don't wage war out of hatred or a desire for conquest. We wage war out of necessity, and we wage it with the same efficiency we bring to everything else. Your empire made the mistake of treating human space like a delivery route you could block. We've simply demonstrated that our delivery service has excellent customer support. As the Zephyrian fleet began its retreat, Admiral Cuthbert couldn't help but ask one final question. What happens now? Do you hunt us down? Do you invade our territory? Captain Kim finished his coffee and set the cup down carefully. Admiral, we're not conquerors. We're delivery specialists. As long as your people don't interfere with our routes or threaten our customers, you'll probably never see us again. But if you do, ... He gestured to Nari's flickering form. Well, we guarantee customer satisfaction. The Iron Turtle began to fade from their sensors as it prepared to jump to faster-than-light travel. But before it disappeared completely, Nara's voice came through their communications one last time. Admiral, you've been very patient during this customer service interaction. As a token of our appreciation, I'm transmitting the coordinates of 3 uninhabited systems along your border that contain significant mineral deposits. Consider it a customer loyalty bonus. As the Zephyrian fleet limped back toward their home territory, Admiral Cuthbert stared at the coordinates Nari had provided. His science officers quickly confirmed that the systems contained rare elements worth more than his entire fleet. It was, he realized, the most polite act of warfare he had ever witnessed. Meanwhile, aboard the Iron Turtle, Captain Kim was already reviewing their next delivery schedule as they approached another potentially hostile system, the ship's cargo. Hold was filled with supplies for human colonies, medical equipment for frontier hospitals, communication devices that would help isolated settlements stay connected to the rest of human space. Nari, he said, raising a fresh cup of coffee, I'd like to propose a toast. Certainly, Captain. What are we toasting? Kim looked out at the stars ahead of them, thinking of Sa Young and all the other humans who had sacrificed everything too. Keep the delivery routes open. To So Young and to everyone else who made the ultimate delivery. May they rest knowing that the galaxy's postal service is in very capable hands. Nari's avatar smiled, her processors already calculating optimal routes through the star system ahead. Her sensors had detected several hostile vessels, but she was analyzing their weaknesses and planning contingencies with the same methodical precision she used to sort packages. Captain, she said, as the Iron Turtle's faster-than-light engines began to charge, I believe our next customers are expecting us. Shall we show them our customer service standards? The Iron Turtle vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind only empty space and the echo of perfectly timed logistics. Somewhere in the ship's memory banks, delivery schedules were being optimized. Customer satisfaction surveys were being compiled, and contingency plans were being updated. The galaxy's most efficient postal service was back on the job, and neither rain, nor snow, nor hostile alien empires would keep them from their appointed rounds.